I was sitting in my office reviewing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. The message was brief and cold, exactly what I'd come to expect from her over the past few years. Your father and I are leaving for our 30th anniversary cruise tomorrow. We didn't book you a cabin. You understand, this is for family only. Have a nice week. I stared at the message for a moment, letting it sink in. Family only. As if I wasn't family. As if 30 years of being their daughter could be erased because I didn't fit their definition of success. Before I could respond, another text came through, this one from my sister Emily. Yeah, successful family members only. No offense, but you just bring down the vibe. Mom and Dad worked hard to afford this trip. They deserve to celebrate with people who actually made something of themselves. I set my phone down and took a deep breath. Emily was 28, 3 years younger than me, and had spent the last decade making it clear that she considered herself superior in every way. She'd married an investment banker, lived in a penthouse downtown, and never missed an opportunity to remind me that I was the family disappointment. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a group text with photos. My parents, Emily, and her husband Derek boarding the Celestial Dream, the flagship vessel of Azure Seas Cruise Line. Everyone was dressed in expensive resort wear, champagne glasses raised, smiling for the camera. The caption read, 30 years of love. Starting our 2-week Mediterranean adventure. Family is everything. Red heart. Family is everything. Except when family includes me, apparently. I opened my laptop and pulled up a specific folder labeled, Azure Seas Acquisition, Confidential. Inside were hundreds of documents related to the purchase I'd completed 6 months ago. It had been one of my largest acquisitions to date. A struggling cruise line with incredible ships but poor management. I'd bought the entire company for $98 million, restructured the operations, and was now seeing the business turn profitable. I scrolled through until I found what I was looking for. The corporate ownership documents with my name clearly listed as majority shareholder and CEO. I took a screenshot, cropped it to show just the relevant section and sent it to the family group chat. Have a wonderful cruise, I typed. Beautiful ship, isn't it? I'm quite proud of her. I set my phone down and went back to my reports. 3 minutes later my phone exploded with calls. First my mother, then Emily, then my father. I let them all go to voicemail while I finished reading a particularly interesting analysis of our booking trends. Finally, after the 10th call, I answered. It was my mother and she was screaming. What do you mean you own the cruise line? Her voice was so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Jessica, what is this? What kind of sick joke? It's not a joke, Mom, I said calmly. I bought Azure Seas 6 months ago. The Celestial Dream is the flagship of my fleet. I own 7 ships total. That's impossible, she said, but her voice had lost its certainty. You don't have that kind of money. You work in some office doing administrative work. You drive a Toyota. You live in that tiny apartment. I work as CEO of Harrison Maritime Group, I corrected. We own Azure Seas Cruise Line, plus a shipping logistics company and a yacht charter business. Total portfolio value is around $340 million. The Toyota is reliable and paid off. And the apartment is a penthouse in Tribeca that I bought for cash. Silence. Complete absolute silence. Mom? You still there? This can't be real, she whispered. Jessica, if this is some kind of elaborate prank. Check your reservation, I said. I believe you're in the Poseidon Suite, Deck 12. That's a 4,800 square foot cabin with a private balcony, butler service and full ocean views. Your booking confirmation should have the ship's ownership information in the fine print. I heard muffled sounds. She was talking to my father, probably pulling up their reservation on a phone or tablet. Then I heard my father's voice, loud and shocked. Harrison Maritime Group. Owner and operator. CEO Jessica Harrison. Caroline, she's telling the truth. More silence. Then my mother's voice again, smaller now. Why didn't you tell us? I tried, I replied. Multiple times. 3 years ago at Christmas I mentioned buying the shipping company. Dad changed the subject to talk about Emily's wedding. 2 years ago at Thanksgiving I told you about acquiring the first cruise ship. You asked when I was going to settle down and find a real career. Last year at Easter I specifically said I was finalizing the Azure Seas acquisition. You told me to stop living in fantasy land. But $300 million. my father said. He'd apparently taken the phone. Jessica, that's not, how could you possibly? Hard work, Dad. Smart investments. I started with a small logistics company I bought for $200,000 when I was 24. Grew it, sold it for profit, bought the next thing. Repeated that process for 7 years. Built something real while you all assumed I was failing. We didn't assume you were failing, my mother protested, back on the line now. We just thought, you never told us you were doing well. Because every time I tried you dismissed it, I said, keeping my voice level. You decided I was unsuccessful based on my Toyota and my simple clothes, and nothing I said could change that narrative. It was easier for you to see me as the disappointing daughter than to actually listen to what I was telling you. Jessica, we need to talk about this, my father said. Can you come to the ship? We're boarding in an hour. No, Dad. I'm not coming to the ship. You made it clear I'm not welcome on your family cruise. That message was pretty explicit. That was a misunderstanding, my mother said quickly. We didn't realize. You didn't realize I own the ship, so now suddenly I'm welcome? I interrupted. That's exactly my point. When you thought I was unsuccessful, I wasn't family. Now that you know I'm wealthy, you want to talk. That tells me everything I need to know about what you value. That's not fair, Emily's voice cut in. She must have joined the call. We were just being practical. The cruise is expensive. We thought you couldn't afford to come even if we invited you. You didn't invite me, I reminded her. You specifically told me successful family members only. So let me ask you something, Emily. You married Derek, who makes about $400,000 a year at his firm. Your combined household income is maybe $500,000. You live in a nice penthouse with a mortgage you can barely afford. That makes you successful. We do very well for ourselves, Emily said defensively. I'm sure you do, I agreed. But I own a $340 million maritime empire. I have 7 cruise ships, a shipping fleet, and a yacht charter business. I employ over 4,000 people. So by your logic about successful family members, maybe you're the one who shouldn't be on this cruise. The silence was deafening. Now, I continued, opening another file on my computer, let's talk about your reservation. The Poseidon suite you booked, that's $32,000 for 2 weeks. You booked 2 suites actually. One for Mom and Dad, one for you and Derek. Total cost, $64,000. We can afford it, my father said stiffly. Can you? I asked. Because according to the payment system, you put down a $10,000 deposit 6 months ago, and the balance of $54,000 was supposed to be paid in full 2 weeks before departure. That was 2 weeks ago. The balance is still outstanding. We were going to pay it at the dock, my mother said, but her voice wavered. No, you weren't, I replied gently. You were hoping you could board and sort out payment later. Maybe negotiate a payment plan. Maybe claim there was a computer error. I've seen it before. People book luxury experiences they can't afford and hope they can figure it out later. Jessica, that's insulting, my father blustered. We are not those kinds of people. Dad, I'm not judging you, I interrupted. I'm stating facts. Your balance is unpaid. Under normal circumstances, your reservation would have been canceled, and your deposit would have been forfeited. But my staff are very professional, and they didn't want to create a scene by denying you boarding in person. So what are you saying? Emily asked, and I could hear real fear in her voice now. I pulled up the booking screen and made a few clicks. I'm saying that I've just canceled both reservations. Your bookings no longer exist in the system. When you try to board in, I checked the time, 48 minutes, your tickets will be declined. You can't do that, my mother shrieked. We've been planning this for months. We told everyone. It's our anniversary. I can absolutely do that, I said calmly. I own the company. I can cancel any reservation for any reason. And the reason is simple. You don't value family. You made that clear when you told me I wasn't welcome because I'm not successful enough. So now you can experience what it feels like to be excluded from something important. This is vindictive, my father said, his voice hard. This is petty revenge because your feelings were hurt. No, Dad. This is consequences. You spent years treating me like a failure and an embarrassment. You excluded me from family events, dismissed my achievements, and made it clear I wasn't good enough to be part of your life. Today I'm simply showing you what that exclusion feels like. Please, my mother said, and she was crying now. Jessica, please. We made a mistake. We misjudged you. But don't punish us like this. We can't afford to lose $64,000. We borrowed money for this trip. That stopped me cold. You borrowed money? Silence. Mom, did you take out a loan for a cruise? We wanted to celebrate properly, she said defensively. 30 years of marriage deserves a proper celebration. So you borrowed $64,000 that you can't pay back for a 2-week cruise? I felt my stomach sink. What else are you in debt for? That's none of your business, my father snapped. It became my business when you texted me that I wasn't successful enough to join your family vacation, I replied. Let me guess. The penthouse Emily lives in? Mortgaged beyond its value. Derek's car? Leased at an unsustainable rate. Your house, Dad? Second mortgage to maintain the lifestyle? No one answered, which was answer enough. You're all drowning in debt, I said quietly. Performing wealth you don't have. Borrowing money you can't pay back. All to maintain appearances and prove you're successful. Meanwhile, I actually built something real and you called me an embarrassment. What do you want from us? Emily asked, her voice small. An apology? Fine. We're sorry. We misjudged you. Can we please have our reservations back? I don't want an apology, Emily. I want honesty. I want you to admit that you've been living a lie. That the success you've been flaunting is just debt and desperation. That you excluded me not because I wasn't successful enough, but because having me around might expose the truth about your situation. That's not. Emily started, then stopped. Fine. Maybe we've been struggling. A little. But everyone does. That's normal. Struggling a little? I repeated. Emily, how much credit card debt are you carrying? I don't see how that's relevant. How much? $78,000, she admitted finally. But Derek's bonus will cover it. Derek's firm is downsizing, I said. I know because Harrison Maritime Group invests in commercial real estate, including the building where Derek works. We get financial reports. His bonus is going to be about 30% of what he's expecting, and his position is being evaluated for redundancy. I heard Emily gasp. How do you know that? Because I pay attention to my investments, I replied. Which is something you all should have been doing instead of borrowing money for appearances. My father cleared his throat. What do you want, Jessica? You've made your point. We underestimated you. We treated you poorly. We're in debt. You win. Now what? Now, I said slowly, you're going to learn what family actually means. Not the performance of family. Not the appearance of family. Real family. I pulled up another screen on my computer. I'm reinstating your reservations. Both suites. Full 2 weeks. Everything you booked. Thank you, my mother breathed. Thank you so much. I'm not finished, I interrupted. The reservations are reinstated but not in your names. All 4 of you are being moved to interior cabins on deck 3. No balconies. No butler service. Basic accommodations. Still very nice but not luxury suites. What? Jessica, you can't. The Poseidon suites are being upgraded to complimentary for 4 other people, I continued. 4 staff members who've worked for Azure Seas for over 15 years. They've never been able to afford a cruise on their own ship. Now they can thanks to you. You're giving our suites to employees? My father asked, incredulous. I'm giving suites to people who've earned them through years of hard work and dedication, I corrected. You tried to buy them with borrowed money you can't pay back. See the difference? This is humiliating, Emily said. Everyone will know we got downgraded. Good, I replied. Maybe humiliation will teach you something about humility. About living within your means. About valuing people for who they are rather than what they can afford. And the $64,000 we owe? My father asked. Forgiven, I said. Consider it an anniversary gift. But here's the condition. When you get back from this cruise, all 4 of you are meeting with my financial advisor. You're going to lay out every debt, every loan, every credit card balance. And you're going to develop a plan to actually fix your situation instead of just burying it under more debt. We don't need, my father started. That's the deal, I interrupted firmly. 2 weeks on my ship in basic cabins followed by real financial planning. Or I cancel everything right now and you lose your deposits. Your choice. I waited. The silence stretched out for nearly a minute. Finally, my mother spoke. We accept. Thank you, Jessica. Don't thank me yet, I said. This isn't a gift. This is an intervention. I'm not going to watch my family destroy themselves financially while pretending everything is fine. You're going to fix this even if I have to force you to do it. Can we ask you something? Emily said quietly. Why are you helping us? After everything we said, everything we did, why not just let us fail? Because you're my family, I replied simply. And despite what you seem to think, family isn't about success or wealth or appearances. It's about showing up when people need you even when they don't deserve it. Even when they've hurt you. Even when it would be easier to walk away. We don't deserve this, my mother said, her voice thick with tears. No, you don't, I agreed. But I'm giving it to you anyway. That's what real family does. I heard my mother crying openly now. My father cleared his throat several times, trying to maintain composure. Even Emily was sniffling. Your new cabin assignments are being emailed to you right now, I continued, shifting back to business mode. Check in at the boarding desk in 30 minutes. Your luggage will be transferred to your new cabins. The staff have been instructed to treat you with the same courtesy they extend to all guests. Will we see you? My mother asked. Are you on the ship? No, I said. I have business in New York. The Mediterranean routes run themselves. But I'll see you when you get back. We have that meeting with my financial advisor, remember? We'll be there, my father promised. Jessica, I know I don't have the right to say this, but I'm proud of you. What you've built, who you've become. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Thank you, I said and meant it. Now go enjoy your cruise. The Mediterranean is beautiful this time of year. Try the grilled octopus at the specialty restaurant on Deck 9. It's exceptional. You've been on the ship? Emily asked. I've been on all my ships, I replied. Multiple times. I make it a point to know every aspect of my business, from the engine rooms to the premium suites. That's how you build something that lasts. After we hung up, I sat in my office for a long moment, processing everything. $340 million. 7 cruise ships. 4,000 employees. And a family who'd seen none of it because they'd decided I was a failure before I'd even started. My assistant knocked on the door. Miss Harrison? Your 4 o'clock is here. Send them in, I said, straightening up and pushing away thoughts of my family. But as I worked through the rest of my afternoon, meetings with ship captains, discussions with route planners, reviews of customer satisfaction scores, I kept thinking about what my mother had said. We don't deserve this. He was right. They didn't. But I was doing it anyway because that's what family meant to me. Not performance. Not appearance. Not conditional love based on success. Just family. Messy, imperfect, sometimes hurtful family. But family nonetheless. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. It was a photo of their new cabin. Small and simple compared to the luxury suite, but still nice. The message read, "Thank you. For everything. We have a lot to learn about what really matters." I typed back, "Enjoy the cruise. We'll talk when you get back." Another text came through, this time from Emily. I looked up Harrison Maritime Group. The articles about you are incredible. You revolutionized cruise ship logistics. You created thousands of jobs. You've won awards. I'm sorry I never asked about your work. Thank you, I replied. It means a lot. My father sent a message next. Talk to the staff. They told us about the 4 employees getting the luxury suites. One of them started crying when she found out. What you did for them, that's real success. I see that now. I smiled at that message. Those 4 employees had worked on cruise ships for years, serving wealthy passengers, never able to afford the experience themselves. Now they were getting to enjoy the Mediterranean in style. That felt more valuable than any amount of money in my bank account. As the sun set over New York, I stood at my office window looking out at the city. Tomorrow my family would wake up on my ship, sailing through the Mediterranean. They'd spend 2 weeks in cabins they didn't pay for, on a cruise line they didn't know I owned, learning lessons about humility and real success. And when they got back, we'd sit down with a financial advisor and start the hard work of fixing the mess they'd made. It wouldn't be easy. There would be difficult conversations, hard truths, and probably some tears. But we'd do it together. As family. The real kind. My phone rang one more time. It was the captain of the Celestial Dream, calling with his nightly report. I answered, discussed a minor mechanical issue and a VIP guest request, and approved an adjustment to tomorrow's excursion schedule. "One more thing, Ms. Harrison," the captain said. "We have 4 passengers in basic cabins, the Harrison family. They specifically requested that I tell you they're grateful for the experience and they're sorry for misunderstanding who you are." "Thank you, Captain," I said. "Please make sure they have everything they need. And keep an eye on those 4 staff members in the Poseidon Suites. I want to hear that they had the time of their lives." "Already done, ma'am. They've been documenting everything. One of them said this is the best day of her career." "Good," I said, smiling. "That's exactly what I wanted to hear." After hanging up, I gathered my things and headed home to my Tribeca penthouse, the one my family thought was a tiny apartment because I'd never corrected their assumption. The doorman greeted me by name and I took the private elevator to my floor. Inside, I kicked off my shoes and looked around at the space I'd created. 3,000 square feet of carefully designed comfort. Nothing ostentatious, nothing showy. Just quality, thoughtfulness, and enough space for the life I wanted to live. I'd built all of this. The penthouse, the company, the success, while my family dismissed me as a failure. But I'd built it anyway because I didn't need their approval to know my worth. Though it would have been nice to have their support along the way. My phone buzzed one final time. A text from my mother. "The sunset from the ship is beautiful. I wish you were here to see it with us. We have so much to talk about when we get home. I love you, Jessica. I'm sorry it took me so long to really see you." I looked at that message for a long time. Then I typed back, "I love you too, Mom. Enjoy the sunset. We'll talk soon." I set my phone down and walked to my own window looking out at the New York skyline. My family was on my ship halfway around the world, finally beginning to understand who I really was. And I was here in the empire I'd built, finally beginning to believe that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. Not through performance or appearances or borrowed money, but through honesty, humility, and the hard work of being real family. The kind of family worth building.